Hi, my name is Nigel Griffiths. I work in the Advanced Technology Centre in the UK, part of IVM Europe. This IVM movie is about housekeeping. It's actually a number of smaller tasks that we'd like to show you now that we have our first couple of logical partitions running, and the sort of things you might want to do as soon as you set them up. I'm going to do some general housekeeping here. I'm going to rename my partitions here to make them the same as the host name. That's just easier for me to cope with. You'll notice that this first client LPAR is actually LPAR 2 because the first one is the IVM logical partition itself. And that since the last movie I created another partition here. Oops, orange LPAR 3. Not particularly elegant names, but they do the job. We slide down to the bottom here and look at updates. You will find that I'm now at update level for the VIO server as 1.5.2, so I did an update. I went to this website and followed the instructions. I downloaded the latest fix pack. That did take a couple of hours, but I just let that run overnight. I then followed the commands that they recommended to do the install. I had to log into the IVM VIO server partition and run one simple command with the client logical partitions online. It took about 45 minutes or so, and it needed a reboot, so I did have to stop my client logical partitions to take the update. I am told that if you're at VIO server 1.5.0, you really should take the update to the 1.5.1 or 1.5.2 that's just out. The reboot only took 4 minutes or so, so it wasn't a large outage. If we look at the results here, we can see this is the system firmware here, and the current level is this, and the available level is the same, so we have the latest firmware. When I created this extra logical partition here, I took an alternative way of connecting the Ethernet. Here we can see I didn't take the virtual Ethernet adapter way, so I'm not going across the virtual Ethernet to my IVM VIO server and bridging out to the network card in my VIO server. Here I've connected my host Ethernet adapters. The first link here is up, so I know there's a cable in here. I clicked this, and so I'm using this host Ethernet adapter that's actually inside the machine and doing the bridging out to the network in the hardware, so I'm not using the virtual I/O server to do it. I'm still using the virtual I/O server for my storage, my disk space, but not for my network. There are various ways of stopping our client logical partitions running. As you've seen before, we can select one here and take a shutdown. Now that we're actually running our operating system, we can do a normal shutdown. This will tell the operating system to run a shutdown, and it will do it the normal way, taking 5 minutes to warn users and applications that are shutting down. We can do a delayed, which means we'll pretend that we're having a power off sequence, like we were powering down the machine. This will mean that the operating system will quickly save data from memory to disks and do an orderly shutdown in the few seconds it has until the power disappears. Or we can do an immediate, which is a hard halt of the processors, and we could lose data. We might get away with this in a demo machine, but we certainly don't want to do that in practice in production. And we can ask for it to be restarted once that's completed. The alternative is that we select a particular logical partition, we open the terminal window, and we simply run the shutdown command that we do with our operating system, and it will shut down, and eventually we'll get in here that it's inactive. A couple of other little things I would like to point out. Sometimes this doesn't get updated as quickly as we'd like. It does it roughly once a minute or so. We can hit the refresh button here, and we get an updated view. We also have two options here. For example, we can do a select all, and this selects all our buttons here. In our case, only 3, doesn't make a difference, but if we had 20 logical partitions running here, it would save us some time. Perhaps we want to do an operation like a shutdown here on just those 2 logical partitions in this case. Again, we won't bother with that actually at the moment. We could do the same thing for starting up. Now, when we're actually starting up, it's good to check, if we look at our properties again here, that we have this checked here, that we have automatic startup when the system starts. This means if the machine is taken down for maintenance or moving it in the computer room or something, or we have a complete power failure, when the machine comes back up, the IVM VIO server partition will be run automatically, and then it will start our client logical partitions automatically for us too. Something else to highlight here, we have a help button up here. Logout's fairly obvious, but the help will give us a web page full of information, and it is surprisingly good. We have lots and lots of information in here, and a lot of work's been put into here to make this fairly intuitively obvious and giving you some really useful hints and tips here on what you actually want to do. Now, something else I want to do here, I noticed my third logical partition here has the default entitlement that's quite low. I want to up that to 1 processor unit entitled, and so we're going to click here to change its properties. I'll go to processing here, so here's the 0.4, and I want to increase that. But if I read the details up here, it says the partition might not support modifying these while it's running since the capabilities are unknown. And if you read on here, it recommends that you can actually receive these capabilities by clicking on General and going here. It doesn't know whether the operating system will allow us to do this or not. And it's talked to the operating system via the daemons running there, and yes, it is happy for this to actually go ahead. So now I can dynamically change this, and we're entitled to 1 CPU's worth of power. And it's changed that online, so I'm in control of my logical partitions and how much CPU power they're entitled to. I can also make changes to other things online now.